The main issue that I want to talk to you about is, I heard it yesterday and you also said about it, we won't be able to accomplish the 2016
goal.
Yeah. So what do you think we should do? There's ways to accelerate, or we should review?
I think the more important that we should have an introspection, a review, but also we can use some of our successes to multiply. Wherever we have been successful, we can multiply them to other places. And wherever we are failure, we should try to improve it immediately. If we keep on going with the present pace, we will not remain on track. But if we can make additional efforts, we can definitely achieve those things in almost 3 years' time. So we have 2014, 15 and 16. In 3 years' time, many things change in the world. If you look now and look 2 years ago, can you imagine that regimes would change in Arabic countries? What has happened in Egypt? What has happened in Syria? What has happened in Yemen? You can see that things have changed because people wanted change. So what I wanted to do or say that the present conference should learn that if you are committed, if you are honest, if you are strategic, then you can achieve that goal. I am not too pessimistic if the genuine efforts are made.
Okay. And what accomplishments you can tell me that happened in India and neighboring countries? We know a little about what happened in Brazil, what Brazil is doing with Bolsa Familia, the income transfer, what kind of policies are being succeeding in other parts.
Yeah. In many countries we have seen that wherever the governments have spent on education, including in India or in poor countries like Bangladesh, we saw the reduction of child labor. If the children are going to school and the schools are providing them some incentives and good education, then the children keep on working in school, not outside school.
Yeah.
So they remain in school. Another thing which worked in India, for instance, the employment guarantee scheme, rural employment guarantee scheme has been a social protection program which has helped millions of people, rather hundreds of millions of people. And that has helped in ascertaining that the children are withdrawn from child labor and go to school. In the countries where the education has been made more free in a way and more useful, like in Tanzania, like in Kenya, the children started going to school instead of going to mines and factories and workplaces and farms. Wow. So that has worked. Similarly, wherever there is consumers' pressure on the companies, the things have changed. Like in carpet industry in South Asia, when I started fighting against child labor in carpet industry in early 90s, I have been working on child labor since 1980, but I took up this issue in 1990 as a very strong issue. And that time the number of child laborers and mostly bonded child laborers in South Asia was about 1 million or over 1 million. These children were working, making carpets, rugs for the whole world. But we launched a campaign in Europe, in USA, and that has pressurized the big companies as well as the local suppliers to find a way out. Otherwise, the consumers were saying that they are not going to buy carpets made by child laborers or child slaves. They will buy only those carpets which are guaranteed free of child labor. So the demand has increased for free of child labor carpets. And we have to introduce a new labeling mechanism where the consumers can get the label. And consumers started buying the carpets free of child labor. So now the result, since say mid-90s to now, the number has gone down from 1 million to hardly 300,000 or even less.
Wow, it's a
So
huge
700,000 children have been withdrawn from child labor. They are going to school most probably, and their parents or other able-bodied adults were able to find the jobs because the vacancies were filled by the adults. So this is one of the biggest example of creation of job opportunities for adults.
Yeah.
700,000 jobs have been created to the adults, or even more.
So since you began your march like more than 10 years ago, what do you can you say? Well, the child labor fall down, the numbers, and
Definitely, actually.
so but we succeeded in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
International
Actually,
community
when I
succeeded.
started working in 1980, in India and then South Asia, it's more than 30 years now. That time there were not very clear study, but the estimates were that between 260 to 270 million children were working in 80s.
270 million.
Yeah, in early 80s. In early 90s, the number has gone down to something like 250 million. And then it went on for some time. Then the first estimate came in 2000, where the number was 247 million, almost 250 million. And then in 2008, it has fallen down to 215 million. 15 million in 2008. And in 2012, the number has gone down to 168 million. So there is a definite decline of number of child labor worldwide. And it is also corresponding to the number of out-of-school children have also gone down. In 2000, the number was 113 million official number. And unofficial number was 130 million. And that has gone down to 57 million now, out-of-school children. So that is also equally significant.
You mean in the whole world?
All over the
worldwide,
world, all over the world. That is the global figure. All the figure is global figure.
Yeah.
But in India also we see number of child labor has gone down. New laws have been enacted. More money is being spent on education for children. Food for education, what we call the midday meal program, where the children are given food during the daytime. That has helped a lot. So children are more inclined to go to school because if they are very poor, they can get food in schools. So that has helped. So many things have changed actually. So we are moving in positive direction. We are on track, but slow track. We are moving slow.
That's why you call for emergency.
Yeah. So that's why I call for emergency. That until unless we see the situation with the sense of emergency, and we analyze the issues as issues of emergency, then I doubt that we can continue this progress, number one. And even if this progress continues, it will take another 20, 30 years, 40 years. And I cannot tolerate it. It is not acceptable at all.
And you said something yesterday that was really impressive about the accountability, that you were talking about ethical emergency.
Yeah.
That the children, they mostly can come to us and hold us accountable.
Definitely, the children are going.
So we should.
We are talking of children. We are talking here in this very expensive, very beautiful hotel, in a very beautiful environment with good food, luxurious place to live, and traveling all across the world and spending a lot of money to the aeroplane companies and so on. But every time we should feel that we are accountable for. We are accountable for the children whose pain and sufferings and problems we are representing here. And that is a moral issue. And if we are not morally accountable in ourselves, that why we are here, Why we are here? We are not here to show to our governments. We are not here to show to our donors and to make good reports and then circulate the reports and be happy and show our faces on camera. This is rubbish, I would say. This is not really the purpose. The purpose is to ensure that how we are morally accountable to children so that in our lifetime we see an end to child labor.
And just one quick question. So we have those policies there. They're trying to eradicate and finish child labor. But then we have some setbacks, like the economic crisis in 2008. And now we have the Syrian issue. We have a lot of refugees and millions of refugees getting out of the country. So do you think that the international community built a structure that can make that these things doesn't, make us retrocede, talking specifically about child labor?
Yeah.
At the risk, for example, of this kind of setbacks, make us lose a lot of years of work.
That's true. That because of economic crisis, also because of ecological crisis or climate change, also because of insurgencies in the countries, or I would say the wars between countries, sometimes the natural calamities which are essentially man-made calamities due to climate change. These things are affecting the poorest of the poor. And who are the poorest of the poor? Who is the most vulnerable? Who is the most miserable? Who is the last person of the society? It's a child belonging to a poor fellow, a poor worker in the village, in remote area, in any part of the world. And that is the last person. So until and unless we see the world with that lens of the last person, we are not going to make fast positive change. So it's important that when we are fighting against all odds and crises, we have to keep in mind that the spending on eradication of child labor, spending on education must not be lowered due to that. It means the budget cuts by the country, the ODA cuts by the donor countries, that must not happen. Spending on children means spending on our present, but also spending on our future. So if we talk on the business terms, it's an investment for the present and future, which will give much more return if we invest now.
Thank you.